February 16th Commissioner meeting to order at this time. I would like to ask Commissioner Brooks Matthews to do the Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation, please, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Our Father, we do thank you for this evening. We thank you for this opportunity we have to come and attend to the affairs and the business of our citizens in Harnett County. We pray your blessings over this meeting, that it would be productive and pleasing to you, Father. All these things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
If you will remain standing for the Harnett County Heroes Memorial.
Larry C. Coleman, Sergeant, Silver Star, for gallantry in action while engaged in military operations involving conflict with an armed hostile force in the Republic of Vietnam. Sergeant Coleman distinguished himself by exceptionally valorous action on 10 October 1970 while serving as squad leader with Company D, 1st Battalion, Air Mobile, 8th Cavalry. When his platoon was engaged by an enemy unknown size, Sergeant Coleman moved forward to the point of heaviest contact. Despite the hostile fire directed at him, he successfully rushed and silenced an enemy bunker position. Sergeant Coleman's gallant action is in keeping with the highest traditions of the military service and reflects great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. Bronze Star with V Device. For heroism in connection with military operations against a hostile force in the Republic of Vietnam, Sergeant Coleman distinguished himself by valorous action on 6 August 1970 when his unit became engaged with a determined enemy force. With complete disregard for his own safety, he exposed himself to the intense hostile fire as he moved forward to the point of heaviest contact and began placing a heavy volume of suppressive fire under the insurgent forces. His actions were an inspiration to the other members of his unit and were instrumental in the successful completion of the mission. He displayed a personal bravery and devotion to duty and is keeping with the highest traditions of the military service and reflects great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. Bronze Star with V Device, 1st Oak Leaf Cluster. For heroism in connection with military operations against a hostile force in the Republic of Vietnam, Sergeant Larry C. Coleman distinguished himself by exceptionally valorous action on 13 December 1970, when his unit became engaged with a determined enemy force with complete disregard for his own safety. He exposed himself to intense hostile fire as he moved forward to the point of heaviest contact and began placing a heavy volume of suppressive fire under the insurgent forces. His actions were an inspiration to other members of his unit and were instrumental in the successful completion of this mission. His display of personal bravery and devotion to duty is in keeping with the highest traditions of the military service and reflects great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. Army Commendation Medal with V Device. For heroism in connection with military operations against a hostile force, Specialist 4 Coleman distinguished himself by exceptionally valorous actions on 22 January 1967 in the Republic of Vietnam. On this day, while participating in a rescue operation with Company A, Specialist 4 Coleman voluntarily and unhesitatingly entered a tunnel filled with debris and gaseous fumes. His main mission was that of freeing a fellow soldier trapped below. Disregarding his own personal safety, he courageously entered and cleared the tunnel of debris and gaseous fumes in order to facilitate the extraction of the fellow soldier. Due to Specialist 4 Coleman's gallant efforts, his comrade was lifted from the deadly gas soon after Specialist Coleman staggered out, completely overcome by the gas. Specialist 4 Coleman's outstanding display of aggressiveness, devotion to duty, and concern for the welfare of comrades were in keeping with the highest traditions of the military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. Army Commendation Medal with V device, 1st Oak Leaf Cluster. Sergeant Coleman distinguished himself by heroism in sustained combat operations against a hostile force in the Republic of Vietnam from 19 to 21 September 1970. He pursued the enemy with aggressive military tactics, neutralizing and defeating them whenever contact could be made. His heroic and valiant actions were often characterized by unselfishly exposing himself to hostile fire under the adverse conditions inherent in a combat environment. He has contributed materially to the successful accomplishment of the United States mission in the Republic of Vietnam. His display of personal bravery and devotion to duty is in keeping with the highest traditions in the military service and reflects great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. Mr. Coleman, on February 16, 2026, your name and citation that appear on the Harnett County Wall of Heroes and will remain so forever as part of the history of Harnett County is being duly recognized for your act of heroism while serving in the United States Armed Forces. We as a county come together to commend you for your actions and dedication to our great nation. Signed, Brent Trout, Harnett County Manager. Duncan E. Jaggers, Chairman, Harnett County Board of Commissioners. Thank you for your service.
Can we get y'all to stay right there for just a second? If you want to say something, you can. I said, did you want to say something?
I appreciate it.
We'll consider any addition or deletions to the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as stated, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Motion carries. We do not have anyone signed up for the public comment, so we will move along to item 6, the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as published.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 7, Life St. Joseph's of the Pines PACE program. Laura Lake King, is that correct?
Yes.
Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, everybody. Listen. So we are from Life St. Joseph of the Pines, the PACE program in Fayetteville. I'm Laika. This is my coworker,
I'm Eric Faison.
And we were wanting some help from you guys. So we currently service 2 zip codes in Harnett County. We have a lovely family here who is not in our service area, but she is really wanting the program. We have already petitioned to the state for an expansion, but we're trying to cover more zip codes in Harnett County other than Dunn and Irwin. It's a program of all-inclusive care for seniors 55 or better, non-residential. It's an adult day health center. So during the day where caregivers get that break while they're seniors, their loved ones come to the center and we take care of their medical needs as well as socialization. But we're trying to reach more seniors in Harnett County. And this lovely lady lives right outside of our service area and she really, really wants to be a part of the PACE program. A little bit more about what we do.
So like she said, we are a program of all-inclusive care. We're government funded through Medicare and Medicaid. We're the Walmart of senior centers. So everything's under one roof. Your primary care doctor would be up under that roof. Physical therapy, occupational, recreational, dietary, the whole shebang. Physical therapy, like I said, we offer transportation to and from the center for socialization, of course, back to the home, to doctor appointments. Yes, we cover all their DME equipment: walkers, wheelchairs, canes, rollators, shower chairs, grab bars for the shower, chucks, the pins, diabetic strips and needles, hospital beds. The list goes on and on. It's definitely a great program, and we actually, like she said, we want to expand to the area because a lot of people can't receive those benefits because of the zip code situation. So the company has petitioned to expand, but we just need help to reach the individuals that could benefit from our care.
Any questions?
Did you submit any information? Did they give you any information?
Did you get anything?
No, I have some packets I can
Okay.
for you guys.
Okay.
I think the only question I had that I was going to bring up for the group was currently who serves the area that you don't serve? Anybody?
We don't think so, no, sir.
We haven't found anything, sir. We haven't found anything better. I've toured their facility, and it's beautiful. And they have pet therapy. I'm looking forward to the pet therapy.
So we need the state to assign you to that area. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
And
yes, sir.
I know that DSS is familiar with this organization, and we have a lot of in-home care that we provide already with DSS, but they're hoping that these individuals would be able to service this area with their company. So we'll continue to work with them to provide it.
Do you think
Awesome.
in the next couple of meetings you could come back with some information about it, just so we'll look into it and see what we can do.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Melissa.
All right, moving on to item 8A, discuss and consider request for the adoption of Northwest Hornet Park Master Plan. Mr. Carl Davis.
Good evening. So over the past year, we've been working on the master plan for the Northwest Harnett Park to determine the park amenities and layout for that park through public input, staff discussions, and also through national and state trends. I have John Blasco with Withers Ravenel with me today. He was the lead on the project. He'll be presenting to you in just a second. Hopefully you guys had a chance to review the plan ahead of time, but if not, John's always going to provide the brief summary of the master planning process and also the final design. Before I turn it over to John, I just want to give a brief history on the site. I'm not sure if y'all are all aware of it. It's off Oak Ridge River Road. If you took Northwest Harnett and cut it in from Highway 401 and the Cape Fear River, right in the middle of that is where this site is at. It's about 28 acres. We bought it in 2018. And the plan was for it to become a future park, also to move the convenience center, solid waste convenience center at that site, and also move a telecommunications center or tower at that site. The telecommunications tower has already been moved. It was moved not long after we purchased it, and the solid waste facility is actually being built right now. So actually the next step will be building the park there. Obviously, no current parks in Northwest Harnett. The closest things would be Neals Creek Park, which is off of Highway 210 at Harnett Central, and then in Cape Fear Shiner Park here in Lillington. So those are the closest parks in the Harnett County area to this site, and that's why we want to build a site for the community there. I'll come back up and ask for adoption after John finishes, but I'll turn it over to John.
Good evening, commissioners. I appreciate your time in having me tonight. As Carl said, my name is John Blasco. I am a landscape architect and senior project manager at Withers Ravenel, and we led the design and planning for this project. So I'll try to make this quick tonight. I know you guys have a busy schedule, but we'll walk through quickly some site analysis and just kind of get you familiar with the site. We'll talk a little bit about our community engagement process. We'll breeze through our initial concepts. We'll hang out, talk a little bit about the actual final master plan, and then we'll get into what everyone wants to know is how do we get this built? How much does it cost? So as Carl mentioned, we're up in the very northwest corner of the county. You can see it there, that big green dot. So the existing site, the convenience center, which is mostly that kind of gray and white area you see sort of in the center of the parcel, is under construction now. Our plans were intended to revolve around that site. We don't want to really change it at all. It's been a lot of planning gone into it, so we know it's important for the community. So our job is to work around it. Out close to Oak Ridge River Road is a big, large open field right now, former farm field. The communications tower is tucked up in the very northwest corner of the site, and then the western boundaries to the south are heavily wooded, a lot of older growth. With a lot of steep topography. We've got a nice challenge of mixing relatively flat, gentle area with some nice steep topography and wooded area. So we went through a community engagement process. We met with the community twice. The first meeting was really to understand recreation needs. We came into this project thinking with some ideas in our head, restroom building, maybe an action sports park, things that maybe aren't typical cookie cutter that every park has, trying to, think about how do we spread out the different park amenities across the county and not do the same thing at every park. So we met with the community at the fire station nearby, talked to them, also conducted an online survey, and you can see here in the chart some of the more higher interest features. Walking trails were big, a restroom facility were big, and a few other different items, outdoor games, bicycle playgrounds, some of the things that scored fairly high. So we really want to take the community's ideas and their needs and incorporate them into our design process. Again, meeting with the community, I'll talk a little bit about the second engagement, which was we presented them 3 alternative concepts based on the initial recreation needs assessment. They overwhelmingly preferred option A, which I'll go through those options here in a minute. But again, you can see some of the priorities that were identified through that process. So like I said, we put together 3 alternative concepts based on those recreation needs. First concept, actually all 3 concepts really incorporated a bicycle action park playground, pickleball courts, playground, open field, and some sort of trails. Concept A looks at pushing the parking towards the front, pickleball, playground, restroom, building, shelter, all kind of towards the front of the park with most street access, open field in the back, and then a mix of paved and natural trails through the woods. As you can see, we're working around the convenience center that's already under construction. Option B, push the parking in the more active spaces towards the rear of the site, leaving the front facing the road. A little bit more passive. We kept our open lawn up front and started to think about, could that be in an informal ball field? We've heard ball fields in the past, but somewhat surprisingly, the ball field community did not come out to support that need at this particular site. And then option 3 looked at pushing the active components more towards the north border of the park. Again, the open field and passive recreation in the middle. And then as you come down to that south on that flat area is the bike park and active sports recreation. And then again, in all three concepts, a mix of asphalt and natural surface trails through the woods. So as I said, concept A was the preferred choice. We took that, ran with it, made some alterations. This is the overall plan. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit better. But up in the if we split the site diagonally, northwest to southeast, the northwest corner is really the active area: parking, playground, bathroom building, amphitheater, that sort of thing. And then in that more heavily wooded area, it's a mix of trails, trying to think about how can we incorporate and integrate paved walking trail along with maybe some mountain bike technical skills where maybe the two might intersect. Thinking about how maybe the bikers go underneath through a tunnel as the walkers go over top. Just ways to kind of sort of introduce those two together, but keeping a safe opportunity. Zooming into that more active space, we've got parking. We accommodate somewhere around 60 parking or 60 cars. That will flex as the project goes into more detailed design. We got pickleball court proposed. Right now we've got 3 courts proposed. That could expand to 4 or 5. It could shrink down to 2. It kind of just depends on how priorities are determined at the time of implementation. Again, this is just really a vision for what this park could be, what the community wants. Right there in the center, we've got a nice big playground. You're thinking about inclusivity. How can we support users of all ages, all abilities, whether that's mental, physical, etc. A restroom building that sort of anchors between those two circles. That restroom will also provide a shelter. That restroom could be a architect design custom built. It could be a pre-engineered structure. Things that the budget will determine in future phases. And then kind of moving up towards the top of the page, you got that big circle, a nice big open lawn, and then as at the edge of the woods, just shy of the communication tower fall zone, is a stage. Thinking that this could really operate as a flexible open play space during most of the day, but also have the ability to host outdoor events, whether summer concert series in the park, maybe it's different county-wide activities, July 4th ceremonies or remembrances, a whole host of things, but it gives you that flexibility really to accommodate the active play, passive play, but then also the programmed functionality as well. As you come down south, or kind of towards the bottom, you see those weird little like mask looking shapes. Those would be active bike or active wheel park. So anything that's wheeled, bikes, scooters, roller skates, inline skates, things that kids of all different abilities could use. One track would be dedicated more towards that beginner aspect. And then one of the other tracks would be more of the advanced skills. And thinking that all this could be phased in over time. This is not a all at once thing. And again, that phasing really depends on community priority. If that initial pump track becomes really popular, maybe the community is clamoring for more and that becomes the next. Or maybe they decided it's not for them and then we just don't build it. So, but again, just thinking about how that works. In the sort of the left side, tucked into the woods, you can see that path that kind of goes off to the left with right below a number. There we're thinking that's a great spot for nature-based playground, whether that be a treehouse style playground, which had a lot of community interest. Could be just more that kids being able to pick up sticks, play in nature, not so much the prescribed, metal and plastic playgrounds that we see most places. So again, really trying to think about how do we give kids an opportunity to play in all different spaces within the same park. And then I just wanted to point out real quick too, with the parking lot, we connect at the northern edge to Oak Ridge River Road, but also at the south end where the convenience center driveway is now. That would be a secondary entrance, usually more or less when there's big heavy events that require a lot of traffic movement. Also for emergency services, but the main point would be up at the north where it intersects with the road across the street. So thinking about how do we phase this? Because right now we're looking at about an $8.5 million project, construction budget. So we know that that's a big bite, that's a big chunk to chew off. So started looking at how do we phase this. So phase one, which is probably the biggest phase, sitting around $3.4 million. That includes the parking lot. That includes the playground, restroom building. At this site, there is no current sewer service, so we're looking at septic field. So part of that cost would be into the septic field. Now, if sewer were to get extended out there in the future, that would obviously take away that cost. But and then we've also got the first kind of phase of the beginner bicycle pump track. So that kind of red is, thinking about our first phase. So here's a little bit more about it. And then thinking about phase two would be the pickle, which is everything in the kind of that blue or gray, green color. Pickleball courts, loop trail through the woods, that performance stage in the back, the pump track, asphalt skills loop, and the remaining parking. So again, thinking about that parking, we don't need to build all 60 spaces for the first iteration, but we can easily expand on it in future phases. And that's sitting around $2.5 million. And then phase three would be more of the woods, paved trail, nature playground, the mountain bike trails, and then, if so desired, sports lighting. If that active wheeled park becomes really popular, and that crowd tends to be more of a nighttime based crowd, and if they're clamoring for it, there's the opportunity for lights on the pickleball courts too. Again, these aren't absolutes. These are just ideas for the future, and it'll all, of course, be based on priorities at that time of implementation. I do just want to caution everybody that these are opinions of cost. This is not a construction cost estimate. It's based on a vision, not on detailed plans. And then, of course, there'll be some professional services fees that will be required, design fees, permitting fees, construction monitoring type costs. So, again, this is just really an opportunity to help the county set their budget for that implementation. It also helps serve as a mechanism for grant funding. Carl will be able to take this document and go after grant funding to help offset some of the costs that the county might have to pay. So with that, I will say thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I do have one question. How many respondents did you have to the survey?
Let's see. Our first survey was probably in the 60 to 80, if I remember right.
I think surveys were actually pretty well done. They're in the document. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I think we actually got a decent response from those. We did through social media, so we got quite a bit. I would say actually it was over 200, if not more.
Maybe more.
And most of them came from the community. The first public input meeting we had about 40 people or 30 to 40 people show up. The second one, we didn't have as many. It was a smaller crowd. The first one, we had quite a bit, which is a good number for us in the 30s. A lot of we went to the community at this site. A lot of our stuff, we don't have buildings, so we can do it there. We have to do it in Millington, so we won't get exactly the community. This one, we were in the community, so we felt like we really got the people that were there. We did get quite a few in the online survey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just to touch on a little bit that John said, obviously, what I'm asking for adoption tonight has nothing to do with funding. This is on the master plan. So we're not asking for any funding tonight. It is just for you guys to accept the master plan, which will guide us for future implementation. Obviously, those numbers are big, so we'll look for any way to offset those when we do get to the point of construction and everything. So we will look for grants, as John mentioned, but this document is a guiding principle for us to move forward for future stuff. We have a little bit of money in CIP right now that obviously does not cover this. So this will take the numbers that we have here and kind of work those into our CIP program to start looking at development there.
So what you need is a motion approving this as the master plan.
Correct.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item B, discuss a request to amend the Library Board of Trustees bylaws, specifically Article 3, Section 2.1A. Kimberly Emmett.
Good evening, Commissioners. The Harnett County Public Library is requesting an amendment to the bylaws of the Library Board of Trustees. As outlined in your packet, previously the bylaws have specifically stated that we must publish in the newspaper, and we're seeking to amend it to include the newspaper, but other avenues like the website, social media, and other community outlets, so that we are not required to put it in the newspaper. This did go before the Library Board of Trustees and was approved on January 28th by a unanimous vote. And the reason that the board is seeking to make this change is the last 4 vacancies that we've had, we've ran in the newspaper and had 0 respondents. But when we've tried other avenues, we've received applicants. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
So you said, I think I heard you say that you would still use the newspaper. Have you developed guidelines as to what type of solicitations you would just do social media or related, and what you would include newspaper ads?
So this rephrasing it would allow us to run it in the newspaper, but doesn't require us to. So we would be able to use just social media or just use the website. And what we're finding is we are spending hundreds of dollars on newspaper advertisements with no response. And so we'd like to be able to pursue other avenues first before going directly to the newspaper. But certainly the newspaper would remain an option if we found we needed to expand that advertisement.
So it sounds like you would envision that your primary source would be social media, let's say, and then if you didn't get qualified applicants there, then you might reach out to the newspaper.
Yes, and I imagine we would run it on social media and the website at the same time.
And the website,
yeah.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we table this till the next meeting.
Second.
You motion, you second it?
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second to table. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So this will be tabled till the next meeting.
Thank you.
Item C, discuss a request to apply for an open grant from the Golden Leaf Foundation for the Corporate Area Development / Hangar Project. Mr. Bonte.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Before you is a request for the Harnett Regional Jetport to apply to Golden Leaf for up to a $500,000 open grant. This will be for our Corporate Area Development Project, where we are currently clearing across Airport Road. This will make way for upwards of 8 hangars and business space. So it's our request to approve this request.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item D, discuss a request to approve the bid from Southeastern Interiors of $10,700 to demo office and bathroom area in the Harnett Regional Jetport owned hangar.
So in the back of our current county-owned hangar is an office and bathroom area. It is in complete disarray. It's had water leaks, it's got mold, it's got mildew, and the previous director of Harnett Regional had actually left it as an agenda item for us to move forward with once we were able to do so. And it's our request to allow Southeastern Interiors to do that demolition, which they bid $10,700 to do. That was obtained by Facilities with Mr. Kenneth. He handled that for us, and we would also request that you direct Mr. Trout to make any kind of signatures for this project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item E, discuss a request to approve the acceptance of a grant from Golden Leaf Foundation in the amount of $656,051 to support Western Harnett Innovation Park. Mr. Stephen Barrington.
Thank you. So as you stated, Golden Leaf did award the county through economic development. Thank you, Brent, for referring this over to Voted Lee, for allowing for us to submit for this. But this enables us to really start with phase 1 of WIP, of the Western Harnett Innovation Park. Has been sitting there for a long time without any activity. One thing that we do know is we really do not have any planned employment opportunities in the western part of the county, and that's something we want to change. We think this will be a good first step. We're working on another site there in Western Harnett County as well, but we were seeking your approval.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept the Golden Leaf Foundation grant award in the amount of $656,051.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Motion carries. Item F, discuss a request to approve converting part-time to full-time workforce development eligibility specialist position. Mr. Price.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Hope you're well. Yes, this is a position for workforce development with Charlotte's department. Kimberly and I have been looking at this for quite some time. The position is currently part-time, which limits the ability to meet growing service demands. They only have one director, 2 career center advisors, and a vacant administrative assistant. So this role will be critical for serving Harnett County and surrounding areas. They have a hard time at lunch when somebody's sick or vacation. There's just not enough employees there. So the increasing county population has led to higher demand for unemployment insurance and employment services. Converting this position to full-time will reduce wait times, and the full-time position would improve overall efficiency and service delivery. If the position is converted to full-time effective April 1st, the estimated cost of the salary and benefits for the remaining 3 months of the fiscal year would be $15,350. Kimberly and I have already looked at that. Brent is comfortable with it. We would like for your consideration tonight to make this full-time to help this department.
Considering the information that we are able to handle this through our budget for the remainder of this fiscal year, I would make a motion to approve the converting of the part-time workforce development eligibility specialist position to a full-time position.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? And this will be, you'll put this on the budget for?
It would be in effect April 1st of this year and run through June 30th, and then we would put it in the budget for the new fiscal year. Yes, sir.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Item 9, board goals and priorities. Mr. Trout.
Thank you, Chairman. So a few items. So on the strategic plan, most of the goals and priorities carry over, but I want to draw attention to 3.21 in the plan, and Melissa will scroll to it. What I'm going to do is draw attention to a few of the items that we have actually completed in the strategic plan. So go there, right there. So, acquire the Johnson Farm for future generations. We made that effort. The Johnson brothers decided not to sell, so that project is not one that we will be able to consider in the future. If you look at 3.81, it says create a Northwest convenience site. As you heard tonight, that project is underway and in process. And we did make changes to the hours of the operation for the landfills this year. If you move to item 4.2.1, right there, implementation and completion of a comprehensive growth plan for the county, we did complete that. So I really draw the attention to those items because those are items that have basically been completed. So we continue to make great progress as it relates to the project. You notice that we're completing the Jetport runway. There's many others that are in process right now. So good progress is being made. There's really nothing that needs to be addressed because this is a plan that goes till 2032. But if there were other priorities that the board would want staff to work on in the coming year, this would be the time to bring them up. We do have in the next part of this discussion would be the items as far as the projects that we want to try and focus on, and I'll have a list for you to review. So, but this simply relates to some of the wording changes and priorities and goals of the board.
Okay.
All right.
Could I know this was not the purpose of this, could I ask a question about the Johnson Farm? I know we had secured some funding for
Yes.
that. And we were requesting whether or not those funds could be utilized in another manner. What was the answer to that?
So the answer is there needs to be a technical correction. Technical correction must be approved by the General Assembly. So you'll see in the next part when we talk about our legislative priorities for the coming year, one of our legislative priorities is to get a technical correction in order to allow us to use that 1.6 million for other parks and recreation types projects. Representative Penny has been brought into that discussion. He's in favor, and he is preparing the legislation to be approved once the General Assembly comes back into session. And along with that, we have the generator project at the jetport, at the detention center that will need an extension. Also, this will need an extension, so you'll see that in a minute here, and our legislative priorities is to request those.
Thank you.
All right.
Anything further on that?
Not on that part.
Okay. Item 10, legislative priorities development.
Okay, so, yes, okay, right, go up. There you go. So this document on the screen, our legislative priorities, you were provided in your packet the 2025 priorities. Of those priorities, there are a few items that we need to add to that. As I mentioned, the first request is an extension of our OSBM grants and then for the Johnson Farm and the detention center generation plant. In addition, we need to have the technical correction approved for the Johnson Farm grants to allow the funds to be used for other parks and recreation items. The next item that we need is the General Assembly to approve a budget that provides full funding for the Medicaid reimbursement for services the county provides in our health department and HARTS. The last area of legislative priority language-wise is to provide adequate funding for guardianship and adult protection services. Funding is needed for our social services department. They have a shortfall that's occurring because of the new legislation that was approved in the big beautiful bill. So those are the 3 or 4 priorities that I would recommend that we include as far as language items in our legislative priorities for 2026. The other ones I would carry forward because there's still issues that need to be addressed. So I'd be looking for a motion from the language additions to the 2026 legislative priorities for those items that are listed on the screen.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we do include the additional items that Mr. Trapp brought to us tonight on our legislative priorities for this session.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Now we're going to the county manager's report.
Nope, I got 2 more items as it comes to, and the next item is the project funding request. So part of our legislative priorities, besides the language items that I discussed, we also look at what projects do we want to see to request funding for from the legislature and the federal level. So what you see on the screen there are the selections that the board made last year for priorities on projects. As you can see, there are a few of them that we're currently working on. So that's the list from last year. If you then go to the next page, what I provided you is a list of some projects. Go way to the bottom real quick first. Okay, thank you. So those are the projects that are currently funded. They were a priority previous year. Now they're currently funded and are ongoing. So I did not include them, but I wanted to mention that those are no longer items that need to be considered in the list. So if you go to the top, and then we'll go down what we still have. So the Northwest Corporate Hangar area, as you mentioned tonight, we're applying for a grant from Golden Leaf, but it could also be a request that we make to the legislature. The runway widening project, we have money for the extension, but we don't currently have money for the widening. We have the potential in the future to get grant funding from Campo to help us with the widening of the runway. It's currently on their master list, but not on their funded list. So we're continuing to pursue the funding that's necessary in order to widen our runway by 25 feet for the full length of the 5,500 feet that it'll eventually be. The next item is to construct 3 large corporate hangars. We already have the funding to create the corporate area, and we're trying to receive other grants, but the idea would be potentially for us to create our own 3 of those corporate hangars that we could then rent out. And so there's an expense there. Cape Fear Shriner Park, there are a number of improvements that are ongoing there, but there are others that are being considered, and so we need funding for that. The Greenway from Lillington to Raven Rock and Lillington to Bowie's Creek is another big project, and $900,000 probably is a drop in the bucket of what would be needed in the long run in order to complete that entire way. Also, the Boone Trail Park development, there's a number of projects that are part of the phased process there. Neils Creek Park, a number of phases there, and then as you mentioned tonight, the Northwest Harnett Park that when the master plan was just approved, and those are some of the items that are listed there as potential projects. Now, I put 4 more projects and I put unknown costs because we've been having some discussions about some of these projects recently, and I wanted to include them because if they are a priority, I need to do some more work in order to provide you some costs. 3rd floor courthouse completion, adult probation and parole facility, elections department building addition, or a new elections department building. And so with this list of projects, what I need you to do between now and probably the first meeting in March is to review this list, think about it, and then rank them so that I can see, so that then I can compile that. And that's the way we've done it in the past, is you rank them from number 1 being the project you think needs to be funded the most, number 2, and so on until you rank them all. And then from that, I'll bring that information back to the board and present the numbers based on your rankings that you provide. So there's no action needed on this part, but at the moment, but I will need eventually, hopefully by the first meeting in March, to receive that basically over the next couple of weeks from you so that I can do that. And then I'll bring it back to the board and you can approve those priorities. We don't have a new date yet on the legislative luncheon. We're trying to coordinate with our elected officials to make sure that they're able to make it. Once we've got a date that we think will work, we'll check with you all and then we'll schedule it.
Can I ask the question? On these priorities here that you have, are you going to be asking funding from our legislative representatives
Yes, ma'am.
to help us with this funding?
Yes, ma'am. That's why I need the priority list so that when I talk to them on your behalf, they know the priorities that you as elected officials has. And then when we have our legislative luncheon, there'll be an opportunity for you to go over them with our elected officials and explain them, and then we give them a takeaway. So if you would, yes, that's exactly what we need is your input on which of these we want to see funded.
Okay, sounds good to me. I did hear today on the news, Josh Stein has received a block grant of money for flooding areas.
Okay.
So that's something we might need to look into that too. Just mention it. I don't know the details or anything like that.
Yeah, and we've made some applications and hopefully for funding in that Riverside area. Hopefully we'll be successful in that application.
Okay.
Ready for my report?
Yes, sir.
I have no additional items in the report. You see there are a couple of reports from the veterans, public health. We'll continue to recognize departments. Kimberly is not here, but it was mentioned that Kimberly was one of 8 nominees to receive the award for Finance Officer of the Year. Fortunately, she was not selected, but of course, we all consider her number 1 in our book, so we'll just continue to believe that. I do need a motion to approve budget amendments as requested by the Finance Officer.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
And a motion to approve tax rebates, refunds, and releases as requested by the tax administrator.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Motion carries. Is there any new business before us tonight? Hearing none, do we have a need for a closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board go into closed session for the following purposes: to consult with the county's legal counsel in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege concerning the handling of certain litigation, including the following case: Hall versus Beasley, Harnett County File Number 26 CV 288-420, and so on.
I have a motion.
Motion. Approved.
And a second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're going to close session. We back on? After a motion in closed session, we're back in open session. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
So.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.